we have Har over again today, and I wanted to talk about late season mangoes with you, Har. You've been picking a lot this whole season, and we have sort of two categories that we were thinking of, that the mid-late and then the late varieties. Do you want to tackle some late varieties now?
Sure.
Okay. So one of those is, well, one that we've just started picking a lot of is Beverly. And Beverly is always one of the final four for us anyway, and just a different kind of flavor to that fruit. Do you have any ideas on how to describe that?
No. Most other persons rave about it more than I do. It's a perfectly good mango to me, but I can't even remember anything about the flavor that stood out for me, so kind of average, I guess, to my tongue. But certainly late in the season, it does tend to taste better than the kit, for instance.
Yeah, I was surprised a couple years ago when I tasted a Beverly, and then I tasted Edgar, and I tasted part of the Beverly flavor in Edgar, which just surprised the heck out of me. Yeah, it's a flavor all its own kind of thing. You can't really say, well, Beverly and say Kit are in the same flavor category. It's just it's hard to describe the flavor by comparing it to another mango.
The crop was very poor on all the trees here this year, so I picked a lot one day, 2 or 3 days ago, and there aren't a lot left to pick, and we had picked only like half a dozen of them before the day that I picked 2 or 3 buckets here. So real short and poor crop this year. It usually is at least a medium productive variety.
Yeah, of course this year has been not a good year for many varieties, and the weather just was not with us. You know, we didn't get a good cold front. I think that was the main problem, but yeah, we'll have to see how it does next year, because normally we do get a pretty good crop of Beverly.
And like kit trees, the Beverly trees are often ugly. They don't make enough new branches. They put a lot of effort into fruiting and just get by with whatever branches they have, and those get codgier and cobblier and whatever other words you want to use, you know, just getting old, and old leaves that maybe are 2 or 3 years old leaves, I guess, and eventually they need some nitrogen fertilizer so that they'll grow some more.
Yep. Well, we'll go right from Beverly to Kit, because Kit had a great season, it seems. Of course, there were a few exceptions on some of the trees, but compared to other varieties in the grove, it seemed like our harvest was pretty good for Kit. Well,
maybe someone else picked some, because I thought I was finding very few kit fruit this year, especially on the biggest tree right over there, but the other trees had a medium or less crop from what I would expect a kit tree to do. So this year was below average. Sometimes you almost see more kit fruit than kit leaves. It can be kind of ridiculous, so many fruit and so big and heavy. So this year maybe the fruit were a little healthier because there were more leaves per fruit.
Yeah, it's but I suppose that, you know, it was just mentioning that the weather wasn't with a lot of varieties, that wasn't conducive to big fruit production, that it didn't suffer quite as much as some of the other varieties did as far as productivity.
Yeah, considering that some of the trees didn't produce a thing, certainly Kit at least produced a reasonable amount.
Yeah, and go over to another of those K mangoes for late season, Kent, and that I made several of the Kent trees much smaller a couple of years ago, so that was probably a reason that some of them were not producing a lot of fruit, but it was, I mean, we fortunately did get some Kent fruit, but it wasn't an overwhelming year for sure on that one.
Yeah, and the history of it here is that Kent has been one of the more popular varieties in Florida for, I don't know how long, 70 years or more. Usually highly productive, very attractive fruit, no fiber, and reasonably rich sweet flavor with a chalky component to it. So some people don't like chalky, but many persons do. That's a component of the flavor of the Zil Indo-Chinese as well and its descendants. So Kent has that chalky aspect to the flavor. Unfortunately, I guess 10 years ago or a little more, when mango bacterial black spot first arrived here, Kent was the hardest hit. And we were thinking it wasn't worth having anymore because almost every last fruit would be ruined. And then the problem went away. The last several years, all the fruit have been clean and beautiful the way we remembered Kent having been through the years. And we do not have a good explanation for that. So spraying and drenching with copper may have helped, but we don't know that for a fact because we didn't do, you know, comparison trials of doing some and not the others and seeing how it worked out. So it's only anecdotal evidence when you do something and it comes out better than before. Doesn't prove that what you did caused that if there wasn't any side-by-side experimental trial. Gary Zil has come up with a totally unrelated explanation, and that is that there are in nature viruses called phages or phages that actually kill bacteria. So if the bacteria that those viruses kill are a pathogenic bacteria that we don't want, well then those viruses are extremely beneficial. So he has no direct evidence that there are such viruses killing mango bacterial black spot, but it's a good theory.
So next on the list for late mangoes is Neelam. And that's a nice variety from India and rather productive. Smaller fruit, of course, but we seem to get a lot of fruit this year. Is that your impression of it?
Well, you have 3 trees, right? 2 of them were super productive this year, and one that's usually super productive had a few fruit on it this year. But most years the branches are in danger of breaking, but usually curved down like a willow tree branches, just full of fruit. And usually they're small And here where the fruit basically don't get sprayed for anthracnose, they're usually splotched with anthracnose. So small, greenish, blackened, ugly, but lots and lots of them and very late season. And one thing that they are much appreciated for is as green mango pickles for late in the season when all the other varieties are too mature, too sweet, not having any more of the sourness that South Asians want in their green mango pickles. But Neelam continues to be green, hard, and sour until almost other varieties have ripened and gone. So certainly if you are a lover of green mango pickles, Neelam is a must-have variety.
Yeah, and we definitely have people that just love that fruit. In fact, one of our customers wanted to plant a whole hedge of Neelam because he was such a fan of the fruit, and so and he was eating it ripe, not green. It is a small, or can be a small tree. You know, any tree is going to get big if you let it. But our mainly Neelam tree in the grove, several years ago had gotten so much fruit on it that a large branch just broke. And of course that was compliments of the wind also, but I was surprised at how big the branch was when it broke, because it's no big deal to have a 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch branch to break under the weight of fruit and such, but this was a massive branch, and it just definitely surprised me. So that's a variety that you probably want to thin your fruit if you get a lot of fruit on the tree.
Yeah, use the thinnings for green mango pickles. They'll be lovely that way. As far as the ripe flavor, I consider it an average, reasonably good mango flavor. But I've heard so many other people saying it's one of their very favorite mango flavors that I realize that I'm failing to pick up on something nice.
Well, and also, like taste buds, it's like, what you see with your eyes. Is when you see blue, is it the same blue that I'm seeing? And it's the same with taste buds. It's like people pick up different flavors just because their taste buds are different, and also their taste history. Because I've noticed that with some things is after I taste, like one mango, sometimes I'll pick up a different flavor than I previously tasted in a different but a related mango to that one. So it's what you're tasting in any fruit can actually change over time for each person.
Yes, and one's own health can affect it, and certainly one's own genetics and so on. So what I'm saying is the fact that so many people consider Neelam to have an excellent flavor proves to me that there is an excellence to the flavor in the fruit that I don't have the taste buds to detect. So that's what I'm saying. The fact that I failed to pick up something nice and interesting there, I'm not just stating that there probably isn't any value to it. I'm saying I'm failing to pick up on what other people are able to appreciate.
Yep, different strokes for different folks. Okay, then another one is Orange Essence, and that's one that I guess we only started picking that maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's still got a few on the tree, so that definitely is a late season variety, and it doesn't have as big of a following as Orange Sherbet does, it seems, and I think that's mostly because of the name. People think sherbet, orange sherbet, like there's a lot of positive associations there before you even taste the fruit. And orange essence, it's like, well, I'm not sure about that.
Like what's that? Is it orange peel and alcohol? Yeah, so you're right. It's a strange name, essence, as though it were distilled or something. I prefer orange essence over orange sherbet. And I think that's mainly because with the orange essence, I eat the skin, not with the orange sherbet. But with the orange essence, most of the orange flavor that I pick up on is actually in the skin. So you either have to gnaw the inside of the skin or actually eat the skin to get the full power of the orange peel flavor. And I do like orange essence very much. It does tend to be a very productive tree, rather medium to large fruit, and very nice in every way except sometimes a low resistance to disease. At least in some locations it can have a lot of skin problems on the fruit.
One thing I think we probably should mention is that some people are allergic to some parts of the skin. And so if you don't know if you're allergic to the skin or not, don't eat it, because that could be, a short-term problem. It's not going to be life-changing, but it could definitely cause some, some problems, short-term problems for you.
Well, there are different degrees of allergies. It can be life-threatening if it goes into anaphylaxis. So my wife has had severe reaction to mangoes, where the tongue swells and the throat swells, seems to be going shut. So definitely emergency room issue. So I wouldn't say that it couldn't be life-threatening or life-changing. Allergies can be really serious. On the other hand, I'm slightly allergic to mango and kind of medium allergic to Tommy Atkins and ice cream mango. And with most others, I can eat half a bucket of them, and if I get slightly affected throat, I take a couple of Benadryl and I'm fine. So, as I say, mildly allergic. And that could be because I insist on eating mango skin. Not of all kinds, but of some of them, the skin increases the pleasure of the eating.
Yeah, there's, and the general categories of mangoes, I mean, I'm not a skin eater, but I think that the Southeast Asian varieties you don't really enjoy the skin of. Is that correct?
Correct, except the Indo-Chinese doesn't have that bitterness at all.
All right. So be careful with skin, unless you already know that you can eat some and not have any side effects.
Yeah, if you've already eaten a lot of mango and not had allergy, if you've handled the plant and the sap and not had problems, well then try the skin of some fruits that you hear taste good on a small scale, and then more if no problem. But there are definitely a lot of mangoes that have nasty tasting skin, so one bite will tell you whether you like it or not.
So another one of our late season varieties that really had a good year was Palmer. We had fruit of all sizes on the same tree, but a lot of the fruit seemed to be very large, and it came at a point in the season where there weren't a lot of other varieties that we were picking. How do you remember the Palmer crop this year versus the last few years?
Like the kid, it was on the below average for total production, but compared to most of the other mangoes in the grove, very, very decent amount of fruit. So Palmer is one of the more dependable varieties for being productive almost all years. And large fruit, medium or better disease resistance, and a good average mango flavor, or better in some persons' opinions. I remember one of the persons who taught me how to pick mangoes was an elderly American black man. His name was Wallace Harmon. He was kind of short and skinny, and he worked picking mangoes until I think he was 86 years old. And he used by far the longest picker available at Zill's. The rest of us would be hard put to figure out how to use that picker, and certainly would be very sore soon. But this old man would be out there for several hours picking the ripes. That's how he said ripes. And to be fair, Dorothy Zill, who was a southern gal, she said ripes too. And so Wallace Harmon would go around the grove picking the ripes and taking them up to front to Miss Dorothy Zill to retail. And the regular commercial picking of mature mangoes, you know, for shipping and for selling wholesale, the rest of us on the crew did that, and those were packaged up back at the shed. So two totally different systems for picking the fruit there at the old Zill Nursery on Federal Highway. So the reason I thought of Wallace Harmon now, whom we called Pop, Pop's favorite mango was Palmer. So I haven't met other persons who put Palmer in their top, you know, 3 mangoes, because so many other varieties have richer flavors. But certainly Palmer's a good solid mango, a good commercial mango. You get a lot of pounds per acre with your Palmer trees, and they sell well because they're beautiful.
So another one of our late season varieties is Venus, and I know that happens to be Walter Zill's favorite. I think Verna Zill's also. So that is one of Gary Zill's varieties that he came up with, and that it's a fairly large fruit and a fairly late season too.
Yeah, quite heavy fruit, and almost perfectly round except slightly flattened at the poles. Sometimes a little flattened sideways, I guess, but quite round. On some trees here in the grove, it does not have disease problems. On one of the trees, almost all the fruit are hit by mango bacterial black spot. So I think that was last year and this year both. It has had that problem on that one tree. Some of the trees of Venus have normal upright branching with an open canopy. It's easy to see all the fruit, and the branches are normally woody and tough. And a couple of the other trees, the branches grew way too fast and with weak wood, in other words, sappy branches, and way too long, and then you have a heavy crop of Venus fruit on there, so those branches either droop like all the way to the ground or break off. When I worked at Zill's in 2015, I noticed that several of his grafted Venus trees had broken branches there. So I have seen more broken branches on Venus than any other mango variety that I've worked with. So if you have a Venus tree, especially if you're starting out, That's one that benefits from some tipping of branches. When the branch gets like 4 feet long or even 3 feet long, tip it to make sure that it branches there instead of making a ridiculously long, sappy, whippy branch. The Venus flavor is very rich. It is descended from the Zil Indo-Chinese, so it has a mix of sweet and tart and chalky, kind of a spicy flavor. And it's quite late, about the same as Kit. Kit is late to very late. Some years it's like the last mango of the season, but here there are several varieties that are a little bit later this year than the Kits.
Yep. So another one of the late varieties, at least this year, was Lil Gem. And it was somewhat surprising to me that it's a seedling of Julie. Because, the fruit do not, instantly remind me of Julie, but if you, start looking carefully at the seed and, tasting near the skin and such, then some of those Julie flavors definitely, or Julie characteristics in the case of the seed, definitely come out. But that was a variety that we had a fair amount of. The tree was not in the normal path of people picking fruit, and so some of it sort of fell before it was picked, but we definitely had some fans for that particular fruit this year.
You're right, I didn't pick any this year. In fact, I don't know where your tree is. I know there's an area here near your house that I always leave up to you, but the original tree at Zil's was highly productive in 2015, so I was impressed with the productivity, and it was late. That year there, that tree was not in healthy shape, and the fruit did not taste good to me, and they were small and ugly, but there were just jillions of them. I suppose that under other conditions, growing conditions, probably including adding more gypsum around the tree, which that tree probably had not gotten any calcium, that the fruit could be much better. And I agree that I never noticed any Julie characteristics to it, but I only tasted it that year. I don't think I've had one since. Oh, okay.
We just happen to have a Lil Gem here. It's been quality sampled here, but hopefully you can get a good taste of what Lil Gem is all about.
So that's not a gorgeous fruit, but it looks better than what I remember from back then. It does smell good. Yeah, that is a nice flavor. Okay, I'll speak better of it from now on.
Yep, it's a nice fruit. And a lot of times I like the smaller fruit because I can eat that fruit and then still eat other small fruit and not get full instantly. But yeah.
And the skin is neither a turn off nor a draw.
So a neutral skin.
Kind of tough.
So another of our late season varieties this year is Himsagar, and that is actually, I think, from Pakistan, not from India. The Himsagar that's in Florida.
Okay.
But definitely, appreciate that it's a late season variety, but also, and a good fruit, but also very productive.
Isn't that one that some people claim is from Calcutta in eastern India?
I think that
is it a different one?
Bengal is it was where the original one, huh? West Bengal was where what's considered the Indian or classic Indian Himsagar, but this one was not from that particular area. So
I haven't tasted it very many times, but I did step on a fully ripe drop a couple days ago and slurped that up. It was really fine.
Let's see if we happen to have it in here also. I think this might be it. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You recognize
my writing
this,
on
yes.
it.
So, there we go.
Yeah, it's juicy. Way juicier than most of the other varieties. And very good sweet tart flavor.
Yep, very nice.
Really refreshing. As refreshing as a peach.
I'd say it's more refreshing than a peach.
Yeah.
I mean, good peach is hard to beat, except for if you're comparing a mango to it.
Yeah.
One that we only had 2 fruit on the whole tree this year. Normally it's rather productive, especially for its size, is Rumani. And I don't know, have you tasted that in the past? I found it very similar to a Neelam flavor, but the fruit are round, and the tree itself has a different growth habit, small tree. Yeah, that was one that unfortunately we only had 2 fruit on the whole tree this year. So hopefully we'll get more next year and you can try it.
Yeah, not only have I not tried it, I don't think I've heard of it. Or not more than a passing mention in a list or something.
Well, one of the other ones that is a late season actually got the first fruit from it before most of the late season varieties were ready to pick, and that was Carla. And this is the first year that we had Carla on our Carla tree. We have a branch of Carla on one of our big trees, and that was just where we could put it years ago. We didn't have many options, so we grafted a branch onto a big Hayden tree. But now we have our own Carla tree in a standalone tree, and I was impressed. Did you get to taste that fruit this year?
A little bit. It's a very good flavor and a very heavy producer. It's descended from Kit. Kind of looks like a small version of Kit, but has a better flavor than Kit and a more standard fruit size. No, not the overpoweringly huge fruits of the Kit. So I would think that Carla would be a better tree to handle the fruit commercially. And so far I've not seen mango bacterial black spot on Carla, which is a big problem with Kit. So I mentioned before that here years ago we had a big problem with that on Kent, and it went away. And now, well, after that, then it moved on to the Kit trees. Like 3 out of 6 Kit trees got hit bad by it, and now there's still the big Kit tree here that has the mango bacterial black spot quite terribly. And it's not more than, what, a row and a half away from the Carla that's perfectly clean.
This was really the first year that I tasted Carla like in a big way. I had an entire fruit, and the fruit, they're they're the size of some of the kits. I mean, they are a significant size.
Yes.
You know, you're not going to get a 3-pound Carla, but you definitely can get Carlas that are over a pound. And but the thing that sort of sticks with me from tasting the Carla is I was really picking up a lot of delicious orange flavor on that, and I don't know if that rings a bell with anybody else or not, but that fruit that day, it tasted great and it tasted very orange.
I don't recollect orange flavor, but I do remember that it tastes good. I did pick the original Carla tree at Zill's in 2015. I was impressed with how productive it was and that it was a very good tasting mango, and late.
Yeah, and it's a variety that is not really promoted at the moment, and I think it's really worth having. You know, it's you don't want all of your mango varieties to be mid-season. There are a lot of varieties that will produce in the mid-season, but it's nice to have some of these really good fruit that are available at other times in the season. And Carla is definitely one of those. Well, as long as you're here, Har, I'm hoping that you can taste a couple of other fruit, and tell us what you think. This one is what we call a Hayden Mystery mango, because we don't know what variety it is. It produced very heavily its first season, so because of that, I thought perhaps it was a grafted variety, but I don't see a graft on the tree, so I'm not sure it is.
And why do you say a Hayden Mystery?
Well, because it is in the Hayden region. It's not, I don't think it's related to Hayden, but it is a neighbor of the Hayden tree. It's just underneath part of it. So when we don't have a name for something, we usually include location in, you know, at least a hint of where it is in the grove, so that we know what tree we're talking about.
There's something about the line of different color by the skin, and then a light yellow color next. So an orange stripe, and then a pale yellow stripe, and then a darker yellow middle.
Yeah, this one.
That and the flavor both remind me of the sugar loaf. But the outside didn't look like one.
No, and the sugar loaf has that sort of what I call like a bump on the top.
Yeah.
You know, some would liken it to a Audi belly button. But this one does not have that, and the skin doesn't look like sugar loaf either. So it.
And now I'm detecting pettigrew in the skin. And the color of the skin's kind of like pettigrew. And that coloration inside could be from pettigrew as well. So it might be a pettigrew seedling.
Do you want another taste here?
I do.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice fruit.
Yeah, in the mid-late, we didn't have pettigrew on that list.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, pettigrew definitely belongs in the
Or even into the late.
late. Yeah, This year it was earlier than it normally is compared to the other varieties, as far as what my recollection was, because sometimes it's like among the very latest of the late, but it did seem to start producing fruit, and it produced a lot this year. Pettigrew also is nice because it's a very small tree with big fruit, so it's usually you don't get that combination, but yeah.
That's definitely in the excellent to supremely delicious range.
Whoa, that's like, you got the very high rating on the HAR scale, so that's...
Yes, ma'am.
That's always nice to hear. Glad it impressed you. Now we have one more, I think, to taste, and this is a variety that you keep looking at when you're picking. And this I picked, I think it's ready. It's the very first variety of, very first fruit of this particular variety at the farm here. And so we'll see how it tastes.
And it does have pineapple on the name, right?
Yes.
And I can pick up on the smell, the pineapple smell.
Rather large fruit. It's tart. And the area that was next to the seed and sweeter near the skin.
Yeah, I'll pass on the skin.
Has a little bit of fiber in it, but I don't find it objectionable.
Anyone who likes the Springfields should like this. I'll not ask for another piece, but I'm convinced that some people will really like it.
You picked up pineapple flavor. What other flavors might you?
And I mentioned Springfields Mango, which is also considered to be a pineapple mango.
Springfields has more fiber than this one, as I recall, and
a way different appearance.
So juicy, sweet, some fiber, and pineapple flavor, especially in the interior of the fruit.
Yeah. So this would be a good mango and shakes, fruit juice blends, and stuff like that.
Yes, and I know people are looking for different things in mangoes, and so while it is not in your top tier mangoes, it sounds like it doesn't mean that it's going to be that other people will have the same opinion.
Right. Yeah, I've just ate a really good one, and then if I'd had that one first, I probably would have rated it higher. But after a supremely delicious one, and then you go to an average one, well then, nothing wrong with it.
Just as was not in the right order.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Har, for going through all these mid, late, and late season varieties. There's a lot of good information, I think, that you've provided on these different varieties, and so appreciate it.
Always fun.